The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, Sri Lanka in talks with India to set up arms manufacturing unit. Minister says India defence manufacturing arm has boomed during the last 2 decades and it is a model that we have to look into. Mumbai emerges as Asia's billionaire capital in a notable development as per the latest findings, as the city sees a significant surge in billionaire residents. Stock market hits the hat-trick recording lows for the 3rd day in a row. And Google parent Alphabet boosts its artificial intelligence across its businesses, including a chatbot to compete with AI rivals.
From Studio 24, here's Sanuvi Mudanayaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. State Defence Minister Pramita Bandara Tennakon said that Sri Lanka is in discussion with Indian arm producers to establish an arms manufacturing unit in the country.
The State Minister's comments come after a month after an Indian arm manufacturer demonstrated Delhi's capability in arm manufacturing to Sri Lankan military at a seminar while the country has been expecting for future joint collaboration in weapon production and military services. The minister said that they are in discussion with an Indian to set up a small arms manufacturing unit. He stated that what we have to understand is that the Indian defence manufacturing arm has boomed during the last 2 decades. It is a model that we have to look into. Moreover, he told that we can take a lot from the Indian model and nothing wrong in learning from them. I think we also should get into manufacturing, he said.
It has been revealed during a meeting of the Committee on Public Enterprises that about 130 engineers of the Ceylon Electricity Board have left the service as of recently.
Responding to a question put forward by the Member of the Parliament Madhura Vithanage during the meeting, the Deputy Managing Director of the CEB, Mr. Palitha Pereira, said that there are 330 vacancies for engineers in total presently. 130 have resigned last year and within the first 4 months of this year. He added that the reason they have a shortfall of 330 engineers is because they did not recruit for those who have retired. Meanwhile, it was revealed in the COP meeting that Ceylon Electricity Board has incurred losses of billions of rupees by making emergency power purchases without buying the ACE power station when it was proposed.
A prominent delegation of 30 members of the China National Garment Association visited Sri Lanka recently to explore fresh avenues of collaboration and investment in the Sri Lankan apparel industry. The CNGA is a leading industry association with over 1,400 major members and covers most of the original apparel brands in China. The primary objective of this high-level delegation was to bolster existing trade relations and explore fresh avenues of collaboration and invest the Sri Lankan apparel industry. During their stay in Sri Lanka, the delegation actively participated in a series of pivotal engagements, including business-to-business meetings, insightful factory visits, and constructive dialogues with key governmental institutions. These interactions were strategically designed to enhance mutual understanding, facilitate knowledge sharing, and lay the groundwork for investment opportunities and mutually advantageous partnerships. Mumbai has emerged as Asia's billionaire capital in a notable development as per the latest findings. This shift underscores India's burgeoning economic powers as the city sees a significant surge in billionaire residents.
With an impressive addition of nearly 100 billionaires compared to the previous year, Mumbai stands as the testament to the nation's growing economic confidence and prosperity. Mumbai now boasts 92 billionaires, edging post Beijing's count of 91 as reported. This meteoric rise solidifies Mumbai's position among the top 3 cities globally in terms of billionaire density. The reports highlight Mumbai as the world's fastest growing billionaire hub, witnessing an addition of 26 billionaires over the past year alone. Mumbai's wealth experienced a remarkable surge of 47%, overshadowing Beijing's 28% decline, reaffirming its status as a burgeoning center of prosperity.
Let's go for a short commercial break. Updates from the Colombo stock market on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange experienced a similar trend the previous week, with 3 consecutive days of record lows. Both the all-share price index and the S&P SL20 index were red at the end of today's trading, marking another negative day. To get the insights and the analysis on today's behavior and the negative trend, let's go to Chintaka Jeevaratna from SC Securities.
Yes. In today's market, the all-share price index closed at 12,293 points, marking a 65.25 points decrease, while the S&P SL20 index ended at 3,637 points, showing a decrease of 34.2 points from the previous session. Total volumes traded recorded 152.21 million shares with a turnover of 3.2 billion rupees. The top 5 gainers for the day were SMB Leasing Non-Voting, SMB Leasing Voting, Lanka Ventures Rights, Bansai Royal Resorts Kadua, and Renuka Foods Rights. The top 5 losers for the day recorded as Blue Diamond Jewelry, Paragon Ceylon, Tess Agro, Ceylon Hospitals Non-Voting, and Mula and Phipps. Aitken Spence, Harishchandra Mills, Nations Trust Bank, SMB Finance and Richard Peary's and Company were the top 5 positive contributors for all-share price index, while Hatton National Bank, National Development Bank, Sampath Bank, DFCC and Melstra Corp contributed as top 5 negative contributors for ASPI. 6 crossings were recorded for the day, totaling 1,342.97 million rupees, with Ambient Capital, John Keel's Holdings and Aitken Spence PLC making the first 3 crossings in terms of turnover.
The central bank's bond auction, which was held on Monday, followed by its bill auction today. To get a breakdown on the results and its secondary market impact, let's go to Zaima Jihan from Quest Capital Holdings.
On Monday, CBSL conducted an LKR 70 billion worth bond auction and accepted the total offered, with yields declining across all maturities. Accordingly, 1st May 2028 maturity closed at 11.85%, while 15th October 2030 and 1st October 2032 maturities closed at weighted average yield rates of 11.85% and 12.1% respectively. At today's weekly T-bill auction, we saw weighted average yields declining across the board for the 6th consecutive week. The total offered amount of LKR 177.5 billion was fully accepted, with 1-year bill being oversubscribed amidst a higher reception. So with that, weighted average yield rates declined by over 30 basis points across all maturities, with 3 months closing at 9.04%, while 6-month and 1-year bills closing at 9.43% and 9.57% respectively. Throughout the last couple of weeks, we are seeing an active buying interest in the market as investors are on a positive sentiment, with the progressions taking place in terms of EDR and other expected developments in the economy. Accordingly, there has been a sizable downslide in the mid-tenors, which has seen a dip of about 50 to 70 basis points over the week. Meanwhile, following today's auction, short tenors too declined by 25 to 30 basis points on a week-on-week basis in the secondary market.
Gold prices traded flat today as investors looked forward to the critical US inflation print that could offer clues on the Federal Reserve's interest rate cut trajectory. Spot gold held its ground at $2,359.99 per ounce, trading in a narrow $6 range after gaining 1% yesterday. US gold futures rose 0.2% to $2,365.50. A report from a financial market analyst mentioned that gold is data dependent at the moment, and if the consumer price index starts to come down a little, it will be positive for gold, as it is in a fantastic position to capitalize on that dynamic, considering its reliance to this point. It also said that if the CPI comes higher than expected, then the situation will rattle all the markets and the confidence that rates can be cut. Oil prices rose today on expectations for higher demand as the US dollar weakened and a report showed US crude and gasoline inventories fell, while the release of inflation data may point to a more positive and supportive economic outlook. Brent crude futures went up 51 cents or 0.6% at $82.89 a barrel, while the US West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 55 cents or 0.7% to $78.57 a barrel. According to market sources citing American Petroleum Institute figures yesterday, U.S. crude oil inventories fell 3.1 million barrels in the week ended on the 10th of May. Gasoline inventories fell by 1.269 million barrels and distillates rose by 673,000 barrels. The Sri Lankan rupee has weakened further in value against the US dollar as of today, compared to its standings of yesterday, based on information from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Specifically, the buying rate for the US dollar has risen from 295.67 rupees to 296.74 rupees, while the selling rate has gone up from 305.23 rupees to 306.42 rupees. Now, we'll divert our attention to see how the rupee behave against the other currencies. Moving on to a short commercial break now, this is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Profits at Sri Lanka's Commercial Bank of Ceylon grew 152% from a year ago to 10.6 billion rupees in the March 2024 quarter, amid higher net interest income and lower bad loan provisioning.
The bank reported earnings of 7.94 rupees per share for the quarter. Commercial Bank Group net interest income went up 45% to 27.6 billion rupees, even as interest income fell 7.3% to 70.3 billion rupees, and interest expense fell at a faster 25% to 42.6 billion rupees. Net fee and commission income grew 4% to 5.6 billion rupees. Losses from trading was 1.9 billion rupees, down from 8.9 billion a year later. Loans and advances to customers were up 1.65% to 1,224 billion rupees amid a contraction in foreign currency loans. The rupee loan growth was 120 billion rupees, the bank said. Commercial Bank also has a unit in Bangladesh. The Bangladeshi taka was devalued to 117 to the dollar from 109 after macroeconomists printed money, suppressed rates, and its exchange rate regime was changed last week to a crawling peg, with only 50 basis point hike in rates.
Siddhalepa, the globally acclaimed Ayurveda-based wellness brand, unveils its presence in the Middle East, particularly in the United Arab Emirates.
The launch event commenced with a warm welcome address by Sri Lankan Business Council in Dubai and Northern Emirates representative Shihan Sharif, setting the tone for an evening of cultural significance and health advocacy. Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to the UAE, Udaya Indraratna, reminisced about the historical importance of Siddhalepa in Sri Lankan households, emphasizing its profound impact on generations. His insight shed light on the brand's legacy and its transformative potential in the UAE. The Hettigoda Group chairman, Ashoka Hettigoda, captivated the audience with a presentation, showcasing the Hettigoda family heritage and the brand's extensive range of over 150 Ayurveda medicines and wellness products.
Hatton National Bank PLC recorded a profit before tax of 9.8 billion rupees during the first quarter of 2024, while profit after tax amounted to 6.2 billion rupees.
At group level, PBT and PAT were at 11.2 billion rupees and 7.4 billion rupees respectively. The substantial monetary policy loosening adopted by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to revive the economy resulted in a drop in AWPLR by 50% from 21.40% to 10.69% during the 12-month period up to March 2024. This caused interest income to decline by 20% year-on-year to 60.2 billion rupees. Interest expense declined at a slower pace of 13% year-on-year to 38.2 billion rupees due to the lag effect in repricing deposits. The bank also provided sizable interest rebates to support the most vulnerable sectors of the economy. As a result, the net interest income declined by 30% year-on-year during first quarter of 2024.
Pygmy has crossed digital borders and will take the ride-hailing market with the launch of their latest technology partnership, Jumjum, in Nepal, a country where 78% of 3.22 million vehicles registered are motorcycles.
Named as a motorcycle city, Kathmandu Valley claims to have over 1 million motorcycles on their busy routes. Pygmy CEO Sofa Jeffries said it made perfect sense to launch their services for Nepal's motorcycle segment. Jumjum will initially launch in Kathmandu Valley, which is said to be home to 40% of the 2.5 million registered motorbikes in Nepal. The app, which is called Jumjum, to give more local feel for Nepal users, is a tech collaboration between Pygmy and the largest fintech service provider, F1 Soft, in Nepal. The CEO said that this strategic partnership is the culmination of a long search in South Asia to take their services to another country in the region. He also said that they have done it in a manner that adds value to the Nepali economy by engaging with an acclaimed Nepalese tech company.
Moving on to a commercial break. When we are back, let's take a look at the global business world. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Asian stocks were mostly higher today after a rally on Wall Street that took the Nasdaq Composite Index to a record high. A report yesterday showed that prices remain stubbornly high at the wholesale level in the United States before many price changes are passed along to consumers, with the Producer Price Index reading for April reaching 0.5% higher than forecast. Tokyo's Nikkei 225 index climbed 0.4% to 38,491.15, and Australia's S&P ASX 200 advanced to 0.4% to 7,760.40. In China, the Shanghai Composite Index slipped 0.4% to 3,133.47 after the central bank kept a key lending rate unchanged today, signaling Beijing's focus on maintaining monetary stability. Markets in South Korea and Hong Kong were closed for a holiday. Wall Street's main indexes all advanced and the Nasdaq notched a record closing high as comments from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell reassured investors.
Wall Street's main indexes all advanced Tuesday, and the Nasdaq notched a record closing high as comments from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell reassured investors. The Dow rose 1/3%, the S&P 500 climbed 0.5%, and the Nasdaq added 0.75%. U.S. producer prices increased more than expected in April as the cost of services and goods rose sharply, leading traders to pare back bets of a first interest rate cut in September. But Powell on Tuesday described the Producer Price Index report as more mixed than hot, given that prior period data was revised lower. He also said he did not expect the central bank's next interest rate move to be a hike, despite the recent run of higher-than-expected inflation. Stocks on the move included U.S.-listed shares of Alibaba, which fell 6% after it reported an 86% drop in fourth quarter profit. And after surging 74% Monday, GameStop jumped 60% Tuesday, after flag bearer Roaring Kitty posted on X.com for the first time in 3 years.
Google parent Alphabet showed how it is building on artificial intelligence across its businesses, including a beefed-up Gemini chatbot and improvements to its prize search engine as it races to compete with AI rivals.
Google parent Alphabet is doubling down on AI. On Tuesday, the tech giant unveiled a slew of new products and prototypes, including a beefed-up version of its Gemini chatbot. Company chief Sundar Pichai spoke at Google's annual developer conference in Mountain View, California.
We see this as how we will make the most progress against our mission, organizing the world's information across every input, making it accessible via any output, and combining the world's information with the information in your world in a way that's truly useful for you.
Google says the latest versions of Gemini are faster and cheaper to run. The company discussed a prototype dubbed Project Astra. It can talk to users about anything captured on their smartphone camera. In a demo video shown during the event, a user deployed it to identify a speaker and locate glasses they had left in another part of the room.
Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
Also on stage was Demis Hassabis, the boss of Alphabet's AI unit, Google DeepMind. He had a new video project to show off.
Today, I'm excited to announce our newest, most capable generative video model called Veo. Veo creates high-quality 1080p videos from text, image, and video prompts. It can capture the details of your instructions in different visual and cinematic styles.
It all came just a day after a presentation by OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. Researchers demonstrated the bot's new verbal conversational ability, which boss Sam Altman said was like something, quote, from the movies. With Alphabet's event coming so soon after and covering similar ground, analysts say it's all evidence of the pace and ferocity of competition over AI.
Huawei is revamping its retail strategy and aggressively opening flagship stores in China, with some just stone throws away from Apple shops.
Huawei is rethinking its retail strategy to do battle with Apple. The Chinese tech giant is opening or revamping stores as part of a bid to take top spot in the country's smartphone market. Some of the new outlets, including this one in Shanghai, are directly opposite Apple. The Huawei branches aim to outdo its rival with unusual features, including a gym. 4 such stores have opened just since December, and it marks a big change of strategy for the firm, which used to rely on licensed distributors. Other attractions at the stores include a coffee shop and a huge living space. It all comes as Apple's iPhone sales slide in China. They were down 6.6% over the first quarter. Huawei, by contrast, saw its shipments jump 110% and overtook Apple as the number 2 smartphone seller in China. Local media have hailed the rebound as a triumph over years of US sanctions on the company. Huawei is also seeking to produce its own chips as part of a move to counter the restrictions.
Sony forecasts profit growth of 5% thanks to a boost from image sensors, helping its chip business book a 40% rise in operating profit on higher sales and lower costs.
Sony sees profits growing this year. The Japanese tech giant forecasts 5% growth to $8.2 billion thanks to a boost from image sensors. Sony is a major supplier of the technology for smartphones. That is seen helping its chips business to book a 40% rise in operating profit on higher sales and lower costs. On Tuesday, Sony announced a 7% fall in operating profit for the year ended March, in line with estimates. It saw lower profits in its insurance business and was hit by a slowdown in the gaming sector. The firm sold 20.8 million PlayStation 5 consoles last year, just missing its target of 21 million. Sony blamed weaker than expected sales over the year-end shopping season. But it sees better times ahead and projects profits at its gaming business will rise 7% in the current year. It cited factors including higher sales from its PlayStation Plus subscription service. The gaming industry slowdown saw Xbox maker Microsoft move to close studios in cost-cutting measures. Sony also said in February it would lay off 900 workers at its gaming business and shut a London studio.
Apple supplier Foxconn reported a 72% rise in first quarter profit, boosted by strong demand for AI servers and coming off a low base from the same period a year earlier. But the growth was lower than expected.
Profits have surged at iPhone maker Foxconn. They jumped 72% over the first quarter. That still fell short of forecasts, but marked the third straight quarter of rising profits. It's not consumer electronics driving gains for the world's largest maker of gadgets for big brands, however. The firm expects demand for such products to be flat this year. Instead, the Taiwan giant is another tech firm excited about AI. It says products like ChatGPT are driving a surge in demand for servers. Foxconn is predicting a big rise in revenue this year, partly as a result. That could also lift the value of its big stake in Sharp. Last year, Foxconn had to take a write-down over the Japanese firm's troubles. Now it says the worst is behind Sharp, with one of its factories to be turned into an AI data center. Foxconn shares have risen around 65% this year on hopes that it is set to benefit from the AI boom.
Well, that is it from all of us at the Nightly Business Report. We'll join you again tomorrow with all the happenings across the business globe. I am Sanu Mudanayaka. Have a good night.